What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we're back here with another one. As always, I'm joined by the Jason Taylor to my Zach Thomas. EM, say what up to the people.
Fins Nation, what is good? I hope everybody's safe out there. Let's get into this.
Yeah, we hope y'all are staying happy, of course, healthy and safe. Trying times continue throughout North America, specifically where you guys are at.
It seems to be kind of in terms of the chaos. It seems to be kind of leveling out a little bit, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Bro, so how you been, man? It's been a few days since they've seen us, man. Since we had our show with Great One, that guys, we really like it. We got something special coming up with a bunch of different content creators that we're cooking up. That's gonna be happening before we get to training camp. So just keep your eyes open for that, guys.
Yeah, I've been good, homie. Just trying to navigate through the craziness. That's it. Other than that, man, everything is good, bro.
Trying to live that life, huh?
Yes, sir. Just waiting on just counting the days down till training camp and ultimately the season, bro. Cannot wait.
And bro, as we get closer to training camp, more clips are coming out. And our boy Devontae been working out with Dwayne Haskins, bro. And let's just roll that clip, man. Bro, y'all were hating on Dwayne Haskins on that panel too, and I kept telling y'all, give this kid time.
Mm-hmm.
This Devontae got them sticky fingers.
Oh yeah,
love to see it, especially on this throw. On this throw, especially, you got those.
Whoop. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He looks when I first saw this video, bro. One thing I noticed about him, he's put on some weight, dude. That dude he looks, his shoulders, his arm, this kid is jacked. So looks like he's taking his strength and conditioning, his off season just as serious as, last year. It's good to see that he's.
Well, now he's healthy and he can, right? Now he's had a healthy season.
That is true.
Under his belt where he balled out. He saw what worked for last year, and now he can step up the intensity because he's not got any nagging injuries that he's got to deal with, man. And look at you're seeing him bulk out a little bit because that, but he's not losing that quickness or that explosiveness or that speed on his cuts. So you love to see it, bro. Bro, I cannot. I'm sorry, guys. I can't wait until Tua Tagovailoa is thrown to this individual.
All right.
It's gonna be a beautiful thing.
It looks like he's by the looks at him physically, he looks like that consistency's there.
By the way, let's be honest on this little in route right here, on that little in route. Check it right there. He got to hold up a little bit there at the end. You see that? With Tua, baby, that's going to be right in stride, Devontae. You ain't got to hold up 1 second. Just keep it. Look at watch right here. Check it. At the end, he kind of slows up a little bit because the throw's a little behind him. See? Hit him in stride, baby. Put it in front of him like Tua would. What would Tua do? Put it in front of him is what he would do.
Yeah, man, he looks good. He looks phenomenal. So it looks like he's trying to build upon the season he had last year, bro. Big things
trying to get that Pro Bowl wink.
Big things, baby.
That Pro Bowl wink this year, and him wink.
Oh yeah,
love it.
So, yeah, man, if he could just stay healthy.
Well, we talked about the strength and conditioning. Remember, people laughed when we talked about the strength and conditioning. People on another platform laughed at us when EM brought up that point first, and I supported him 110% when he brought that up on one Tuesday night panel, and everyone was laughing at us when we mentioned the strength, and we actually brought up because me and EM had the conversation prior to going on that panel, and even on the panel, who did we mention? We mentioned, remember, Arian Foster, right? Yep. Didn't have good strength and conditioning because his brother was running his strength and conditioning. He wasn't using an actual trained professional. You know what I mean? And you highlighted one of the things Brian Flores talked about when he came in here in his press conference was strength and conditioning, and he wanted us basically to be those dogs and not get worn out by the heat, and still be able to find that second or third level in the third, fourth quarter.
Absolutely. Yeah, that facts. Facts.
You know what I mean? People were laughing at us, bro, but look at
they were laughing. It's cool.
And I believe someone asked how fast Devontae was. He's got 4.4 speed.
Absolutely. At 6'3", 215 pounds.
Well, he might be about 220, 223 right now.
Yeah. He definitely looks 220 right now, but
definitely going to be watching that weight scale when it comes through.
And see, and that's one aspect of Devontae's game that's kind of underrated is his ability to go deep. He's got long speed, bro. He's got deep speed for sure.
If you actually think about it, if he could stay healthy, he's a high point receiver. He can beat you on go routes. You know what I mean? Like he's a good route runner. He's a really good route runner. Like he got better dare I say, if he would have been healthy for his whole time in the NFL, at this stage, he would probably be one of the more complete receivers in the NFL. When you look at the experience he would have got under his belt, his growth and development would have been stunted by nagging injuries, et cetera, et cetera.
I saw last year, I definitely saw growth in his game overall. A lot of people on TD's platform were saying he's just a 50-50 jump ball type guy, and they were saying that's why he made.
No, he's pretty complete. He can be that though.
If you go back and you put on that New England, and I always reference that New England Patriots game because he was matched up 98% of the time with Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, he made him look.
And if you saw him, he did make plays, in terms of going up
and back shoulder, bro. That back shoulder catch.
Yeah.
Where Gilmore got all caught up, and then he made the back shoulder catch, and it was just straight to the house, bro.
Yeah.
Gilmore was just lost in his shoelaces.
But if you go and you watch the entire game, bro, you would see just how refined his route running game has become. I mean, it was one route. It was a where he set him up. It was like I think it was maybe a 15-yard out route. But the way he set Stephon Gilmore up, I mean, he gave him that little shimmy. Obviously, Stephon Gilmore was trying to press him and disrupt him at the line of scrimmage. And, I mean, Devontae just brushed him off. I mean, he had no effect on him. His hands had no effect on him at the line. And once Devontae had gotten off the line of scrimmage, Stephon Gilmore was trailing him. And Devontae kind of gave him a little shimmy, to the inside, and Stephon Gilmore bit all over that, and then he went he went, like I said, it was a 15-yard out route. And it might not seem like a huge thing, but if you go back and you look at Devontae Parker's tape from like 2-3 years ago, there's no way in the world he would have been able to run a route that refined, especially on a player like Stephon Gilmore. And I was like, man, and then you just see, like I said, you put that tape on, you see the growth in his game overall now, because we knew about the height, we knew about the speed, we knew about the high point ability. Now you see him, the implementation of actually refined route running. And once he does that, if he's more consistent and build upon the last 3-4 games of the season last year, I mean, man, we could be looking at a monster year from Devontae Parker. Wink, wink.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The kid's super talented. The problem is we've only had one season where we've really been able to see it on full display, right? That's basically so yeah, we gave away a couple hint wink winks on that one too, I gotta say. Right?
Yep.
So the other thing is we talked to you alluded to it a couple of days ago, EM, when we were having our conversation about Tua. I believe it was with Great One, correct? When we had that conversation with Great One, if I remember correctly.
The not so great one? The not so great. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
this guy. You're ruthless.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So the whole thing was, we couldn't find the article. We have found the article. And it was just basically right here. Basically, Florio on Pro Football Talk said, "Will Fitzpatrick be the starter all year? Will they put Tua in at some point?" I talked to somebody over the weekend who was committed to the concept that Tua Tagovailoa was an ownership pick. Period. Not a coach pick, not a GM pick, an ownership pick. Steve Ross wanted a franchise quarterback, couldn't get him. Settled in on Tua. I think Brian Flores is going to put the best guy out there. If Tua is better than Fitz, he plays. If Fitz is better than Tua, he plays, period. So, I mean, it's not about developing Tua. It's about trying to help him get to his ceiling, slow the game down like it could have been for Josh Rosen last year. The better guy is going to play. Your thoughts? I mean, we have talked about the fact that we knew Stephen Ross wanted his guy, especially now after he's seeing the jersey sales roll in. But
this is, really, we talked about this months ago. This is really not news to me. When I first saw this article, I really didn't pay it much attention because, again, we talked about this months ago. We knew, what we all speculated was that Burrow was a target based off the year he had last year, because of the durability issue with Tua, the uncertainty about his hip. Okay, maybe that I'm not 100%. I don't 100% believe that they actually tried to. Well, I would say this: they were willing to mortgage that much. That, according to the reports that came out over the last 3-4 months, I don't think they would have. But I think there was a high level of interest in Joe Burrow, and to be honest with you, I think Tua is a better prospect, but what can you not like about Joe Burrow this season, considering what he put on tape consistently last year? So, what's not to like about that kid? But with that being said, this is not news. We talked about this months ago. It was all about Tua's, the uncertainty about his hip, the durability, quote unquote, durability issue. So we knew this. We speculated about this months ago. So this was just a I really didn't pay it any, that much attention because,
one truth though here is Brian Flores is going to put the best guy out there.
Yeah. Well, I was going to get to that, but as far, we talked about that as well. We fully anticipate, as long as Tua is as healthy as he can possibly be, him getting into training camp and him just lighting it up and showing people why he's, why everybody was so high on him. I fully anticipate him to outshine everybody in that quarterback room. But my opinion, again, ideally, the ideal scenario, I just have a lot of respect for what Ryan Fitzpatrick did last year. And I want to see, with improvement around him up front, in particular on the offensive line, and if we can establish a running game, I think we can see a better year from Ryan Fitzpatrick, okay? But and that would mean that we're winning, which is a good thing. But I can also see where if Tua is just that much better than everybody else, especially at this stage, you know what I mean? And he's healthy as he could possibly be. You got to put the best 11 out there. If you feel Tua gives us a better chance, you have to put him out there, bro. You have to.
Yeah.
Period. So I agree with that. But I can see both sides. Whether you sit him, and again, I think the ideal scenario is to implement him like, kind of take the approach that Kansas City Chiefs did. I mentioned on several streams. Just kind of, implement him during stretches of the season. Let him get his feet wet. Let him get acclimated. Because I think the biggest obstacle to his in his way is the speed of the game. It's just like any quarterback. You just got to get acclimated to the speed of the game. So implement him during stretches of, hopefully we're up 2 or 3 touchdowns in games, and we can kind of, have him come in and just, and get his feet wet again and get acclimated to everything, to the NFL game. And but again, if he's tearing it up like that, if Tua is looking, number one, all about his health, as he's as healthy as he can possibly be, and he is just tearing up that quarterback room, there's no way you keep him on a bench, bro. If you feel he's going to give us that much more, that much, so much of a better chance to win, there's no way you sit him.
What do you think?
And I think, and to be honest with you, I think that's a real possibility.
As we go on here, are you still in the belief that Fitzpatrick starts week 1?
If I'm sitting here right now, I still think, because I don't know, I listened to Flores yesterday and he could have been blowing smoke, but they were asking about how does Tua look or whatever. Flores said that he or the doctors hadn't gotten their hands on him. I think that's a bunch of BS, to be honest with you. But
we already know it is because they got their hands on him a second time in Indianapolis that was approved by the NFL.
As we're sitting here today now, this could change in a month, but as we're sitting here today, I think Fitzpatrick starts the season as a starter, which I'm extremely comfortable with that. So we'll see.
I mean, it's going to be an interesting battle to see how this plays out because, we're going to find out, a lot of questions are going to be answered in terms of, because there's been a lot of people out there that have gone on about how, and we're a few of them about the high intellectual ability of this guy, of his ability to pick up a playbook. He had 3 different offensive coordinators when he went to Alabama, and he didn't have a problem being in any of those offenses. So, we're going to really find out about how quickly not only can he pick up the playbook, but, I mean, the one question we have is, well, 2, it's how quickly can he adapt to the game speed and how quickly can he pick up the terminology. And if he does those things, I mean.
Because the physical ability is there. The physical talent is obvious. He's so much more talented than everybody else. That's no question. It's just the mental aspect. And but that's, that I don't, again, I think, I mean, man, I see both sides, bro, to be honest with you. I could see Tua just clearly outshining everybody, blowing everybody off the field and starting day 1. And then again, I can see where Fitzpatrick, with improvement around him, you know what I mean? His already familiarity with the offense, familiarity with Chan Gailey, knowing the nuances, knowing how Chan likes to do things. I could see in terms of the starting job, tilted in favor of Fitzpatrick. But again, I could see both sides, bro. I would not be shocked either way. So, and I'm comfortable either way. Whatever direction they decide to go in, as long as it doesn't include Josh Rosen, I'm comfortable with it, bro.
Okay, so let's get on to something else that I find quite interesting because, as you know, I went out there and I made the full-on prediction that this man's going to make our starting roster. Kirk Merritt, bro. So it came out.
You love that kid.
Hey, bro. I highlighted it here. Hold on, bro.
You are going to speak that into a distance.
Kirk Merritt has been FaceTiming with Tua Tagovailoa and has also reached out to Ryan Fitzpatrick. Brother.
You are trying to speak that into existence, aren't you?
I'm not trying to. It's happening, bro.
I hear you. That's encouraging to see. That's very encouraging to see. That tells me is that he's taking his craft seriously. And he wants to get, he wants to get familiar with his quarterbacks, and that's just, that's encouraging to see. And all of them, I hope all the wide receivers are doing that, reaching out to them and kind of getting familiar with them. But that's encouraging to see. I still think it's a long shot for him to make this team, make the 55-man roster.
Who's gonna stop?
So
Isaiah Ford. You're gonna say your boy Matt Collins ain't stopping this kid, bro.
Okay, wait until you get a look at Matt Collins. Watch. Mark my words.
I've seen Matt Collins. I watched Eagles.
Well, wait till you see him. If he comes back healthy, hopefully our program can have the same effect on him that it had on Devontae.
Oh, you're hoping. Because you've been banging the drum about this.
Because I'm telling you, this kid is a monster, bro. You don't realize how talented this kid is. We just finished talking about how immensely talented Devontae Parker is. This kid is a better athlete than what Devontae Parker is. And I just don't understand, number one, how he slid to the third round that year. Two, the kid just can't stay healthy, bro. But the requisite physical skill set is immense. And y'all will be, I guarantee you, I think that kid is going to be too talented. He will be on this 55-man roster. I truly believe that. But Kirk Merritt, I will say this, bro. The kid, that is too much. I've said this and I've been consistent about this. They have to have, it's going to be a long shot for him, but they have to find a spot for him somewhere at some capacity. Because this kid is that is too much athleticism, bro, for this kid not to make this team. Too much. So, yeah, would I pick him over Isaiah Ford? Oh, yeah, because this kid he's so much superior to him athletically, But my only concern about him, especially on a UDFA, as well as any rookie player coming, making that transition, it's just the mental aspect of the game. Can he be reliable? And you know how Flores is about, can we rely on you? Are you reliable? Isaiah Ford proved he could be down the stretch last year. Alan Hearns, you know how Flores talked about his reliability last year. He loves that kid. So, and it might come at the expense of Matt Collins. I hope not, because I'm telling you, this kid's a beast. But again, that's my only concern with him or any of those UDFA wide receivers. So, but if you put him on a practice squad, if he doesn't make the 55-man roster, we can kiss him goodbye. He will be on another roster somewhere. I will say that. Some other team they're gonna like, damn, that guy, he didn't make it. He's on the practice squad. No, he will be poached by some team. So again, that is too much athleticism. Unless he just gets into training camp and he's just a complete idiot and he just can't, he just can't interpret things, and he's so far behind mentally. And I don't want to say idiot, but he just can't pick up things fast enough. And I see them finding a spot for him somewhere. I do, because that's too much. That kid is too athletic, bro. Too athletic. But this is encouraging to see him reaching out to his quarterbacks. That's what I want to see from all of them, not just the rookies, but all the wide receivers should be. It's a new offense, new implementation of concepts. Everything is new. So I want to see that from all the wide receivers, bro, to be honest with you. So kudos to Kirk Merritt. This is encouraging. But again, I do think, just like any UDFA making an NFL roster, bro, it's going to be an uphill climb. But hopefully he can make it. And again, that dude's, his athleticism is off the charts. And I just hope they find a spot for him. Not at the expense of Matt Collins, though. But I do hope they find a spot for him.
Bro, are you serious? You're going to go with the guy who's been injured all the time?
Telling you, man, that kid is a beast, bro. Telling you, he's a beast, dude. He's a beast, man. I'm telling you. All right, we'll see. Call me crazy if you want to, but it's all good. You'll see.
Well, I just did call you crazy. What's good?
Well, it's not the first time. I'm sure it won't be the last, bro. I'm sure. So it's all good.
Bro, you just
love, baby.
Yo, we got to make a wager. Me and you got to make a wager.
Okay.
And it's got to be Kirk Merritt versus Matt Collins. You know what? Let's bet. Let's bet one of those mugs that you saw that I ordered, which should be here any day now for me. We can bet one of those because they're like $20 if you want. Because I'll get a throwback merino because I'll be showing them off here, and you're gonna want to make that bet because everyone's gonna be jealous when those things come in, bro.
You don't want to bet a Madden 21 game, bro?
Oh, you want to ball out, huh?
Yeah. No, we go with a mug, bro.
No, we can.
All
right, bro. Take my money, bro.
I don't want to take your money home,
bro. The only thing Matt Collins ever gonna make is the IR, bro.
I hear you. Well, again, that's what they were saying about Devontae Parker not too long ago. So,
different thing. Devontae Parker could still have an impact even before he got hurt. Matt Collins just been. I mean, so we're clear. I'm not saying this kid is gonna. He's gonna come in and I'm not saying number one he's a better player than Parker.
And I'm not saying this kid is going to come in and be 1,000-yard receiver. I'm not saying it at all. Although he does have the physical ability to do it. I'm just saying he can be a very valuable piece to our offense based off his
they need water,
talent.
bro. In between timeouts, they need water.
Okay.
He'll be the most athletic water boy in the NFL.
I hear you. Go check that kid's profile out.
He'll probably, I know, bro. I've seen him, but he can probably.
Y'all snoring on him, bro. You hear him, Matt? I'm riding with you, homie. They snoring on you, homie. They snoring on you. I'm riding with you, though. Remember, I'm riding with you,
bro. He must have an LLC that you're invested in. The way you be propping him up.
I'm just saying, man. I'm telling you, when he came out that year, I was hoping the Dolphins would take a flyer on him. He was on my.
I don't disagree with you about his athleticism, but that guy is at a point legitimately where you can actually say he gets hurt quite a bit.
Well, it's his third year, bro. He's coming into his third year.
Every year he's been hurt, bro.
But Devontae Parker was hurt every year before.
Yeah, but Devontae, you're actually going to compare their first 3 years, bro?
No. Just saying, Devontae Parker was.
Think about it this way. He's athletic. I agree. He's get injured. Cool. He's coming from one of the most wide receiver depleted teams in the NFL because I'm pretty sure Carson Wentz was number 2. I think Dak was number 1, but Carson Wentz was number 1 or number 2 in drops against this year. Okay. So he coming from Nelson Aguilar at one point had to be the number 1 guy this year. You're coming from one of the most wide receiver depleted teams, and he can't, and they're not even willing to continue to take a flyer on what he could be or what he hasn't shown.
Well, did they? I think if I'm not mistaken, when Philly released him, they needed that roster spot, and they signed.
Bro, they have one of the worst wide receiving corps in the NFL.
They were signed. They signed another position. It wasn't a wide receiver. It was another position. I want to say running back, I believe, bro. They needed it was like an emergent. They really needed. I forget what position that was, but when they released him, and not to say that they didn't get frustrated. Probably did get frustrated with him. Maybe, but things happen. Players, they get drafted into a program. It doesn't work out. They get placed on the waiver wire, scooped up, signed by somebody else, and then they go on to have a level of success. Just saying, I'm not saying this kid, although he has the ability to do so, but I'm not saying this kid is going to be 1,000-yard receiver for us. I'm just saying, if he can get the playbook down, number one, he can get his health. If he can stay healthy, and he can get, the playbook down or whatnot, you'd see how. And again, I'm not saying Allen Hurns is like a Pro Bowl. He's Julio Jones, but he's reliable.
Yeah, he was trending upwards before he got hurt 1 year back with Blake Bortles.
Yeah, he was. But all I'm saying is this: he's bigger, he's strong, he's taller, stronger, and big and faster than what you have Allen Hurns. I could see him transitioning to that role, but he's probably 2 notches more athletic than what Allen Hurns is. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, based off the profile, again, health, and just how he gets acclimated into the system. I'm telling you, man, he will be a matchup problem for teams. And I'm just saying, and in this league, it's all about athleticism. So you have him, you got Devontae Parker. We just talked about his athletic ability. You already know what Preston Williams brings to the table. You throw Mac Hollins in that bunch. That's 3 guys that are 6'3.5" or above, because Mac Hollins is 6'5", 225, and this guy has 4.45 speed.
Yeah, but
I mean,
why
jump out the gym?
But when you look at Merritt, he got like a 49-inch vert, 4.3 speed.
I get that.
Hold on. He's super athletic, obviously. The difference is, and I hate to use these words, but I mean, I don't know how else to phrase it. He's not damaged like Mac Hollins is at this point of his career.
You call him damaged?
No. I'm talking about in terms of his confidence and being injured consistently. Because this game, whatever position you're about, it's about confidence. And there's no way he's at a high point of confidence right now, considering of what he's coming off at Philadelphia and getting released by one of the worst wide receiver cores in the NFL.
I don't think he's bothered. I don't think he's bothered one iota about that Philadelphia experience. He's not bothered by that, bro.
I think when you look at Kirk Merritt, he doesn't have an injury history like this. If he stays if his head stays in check, then you're not going to have the character issues, and he's faster, and you can definitely make the argument he's more athletic than Matt Collins as well. Well, I'm not seeing Matt Collins jumping no 40 for.
Well, Matt Collins had over a 40-inch vertical leap, bro.
Not 49-inch, bro. Stop.
No.
That's free.
No. No. I'm not saying
that. That's the thing. When you actually look at his size.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
That's the difference. He's a freak, bro. Now, if you're gonna make the argument that Matt Collins could beat out a guy like Matt Cole and make sure Matt Cole gets reduced to the practice squad, then okay, I could see you there. If you're gonna make the argument that he's gonna be fully healthy and he could vie for Isaiah Ford maybe and knock him down a peg, cool. But I think Kirk Merritt is gonna be ahead of Matt Collins on the depth chart.
Again, I just look at this basketball team, bro. You talking Parker, Hollins, Gesicki, Preston Williams. I mean, all of them 6'4" and above, bro, and can run. All of them. Then you got Albert Wilson. You know, if he comes back and it looks like if he returns to that his form from 2 years ago before he injured his hip, and then you throw in the Jakeem Grant and you throw this guy in the mix, that's a lot of athleticism in our wide receiving core. And I can see our wide receiving core really shaping out that way, to be honest with you. I'm telling you, I really do. And but again, if they need to prove that they can get the playbook down, they can get their assignments down, know where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. And again, Flores is all about reliability. So
I think Jason is onto something. I think Matt Cole is probably going to make this team as the gunner.
Probably.
I think he's onto something there with Matt Cole for sure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get into before we get into whether we think we got any Pro Bowlers this year, and who we think they are. Let's get into Bruce Arians for a sec here, because he was recently on the radio, and he was basically asked whether he'd go with Tua or a veteran. And he said, "I think it all depends on his health. If he's healthy, I'm playing him." Arians told 100.9 FM in Alabama. "I don't think you can learn anything from holding a clipboard. You know, I had Peyton Manning his first year, Andrew Luck his first year. Ben Roethlisberger was one of those guys that went in by accident because Tommy Maddox, shout out to the old XFL, got hurt. You missed all the practice reps. You missed the game reps. I don't know what you learned from holding a clipboard watching." So, you know, you got a guy here who a lot of people consider to an extent a quarterback whisperer, because a lot of people were like, man, when this guy can't get through to Jameis, basically a lot of people threw their hands up, and I know you're hearing EDM, a lot of people threw their hands up and said that no one can, right? What do you think about Bruce Arians' stance on that in terms of, let's go beyond whether he's healthy or not, but what he's saying in terms of you can't really learn anything from holding a clipboard? This is kind of an indictment on Josh Rosen to an extent, if you ask me.
Again, I see both sides of, we talked about this before on previous streams before. I've been consistent. I don't necessarily subscribe to one channel. I see, because you have, you've had players that come into the NFL, get drafted and start day one, and have go on to be and have a high level of success. And you've seen guys that have come into the NFL and set and had a high level of success later on. So I see both sides. I don't necessarily subscribe to one channel either or, but I agree with both. I agree with both scenarios, because you have you have players on both sides that have been thrown into those type of scenarios, and they've gone on to have success and failures. So yeah, I mean, I see both sides. I agree with both sides of the coin, bro. So, but as far as Tua is concerned, again, we just talked about Tua. Either again with Tua, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I'm comfortable with either scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm in total agreement with you. If Tua shows out like how I think he's going to show out, and he adapts to the speed, it's just as long as our offensive line is where it needs to be. If our offensive line is competent enough, roll the dice, man. Especially if you're going to just heavy RPO. Just go heavy RPO.
I look at I think our offensive line. I remember Sharif a couple strings back. He said he thought maybe we could potentially have a top 5 offensive line. I'm definitely not going to co-sign on that at this point. But I will say this: I do think we will see significant improvement up front with the 2 veterans, primarily from the 2 veterans.
Yeah, I could see them being I could see them being between 15 to 20, but I don't think they're going to be a top 15 line.
Mm-hmm.
Not yet.
Yeah, and really, to be
not
honest
yet.
with you, right. If we can, as long as they're between somewhere like 15 and 23-ish, that's really all you need to be a playoff team, to be honest with you.
Well, for Fitzpatrick, for a rookie, I want a top 10, top 12.
But if in terms of pass block, in terms of pass protection. But if we can implement and generate a running game, oh man, I'm telling you, that alone helps the pass protection. Because you remember last year, bro, when we had the majority of our issues up front, it was when teams we were too consistently in third and long situations because we didn't have a running game at all. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? 1 point some odd yards per carry. So we're consistently in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, and beyond. So when that happens, teams can just pin their ears back because there's no threat of the running game. They don't have to scheme for the running game. So when that happened, teams just sent extra guys, 5, 6, sometimes 7 guys, and you saw how Josh Rosen looked like a deer in headlights, but if you have a presence of a running game where teams just can't, in terms of their, if you force a team to consistently prepare for the running game, if we go from 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9 situations to consistently 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, teams, they just can't necessarily just pin their ears back and scheme you for the pass. Mm-hmm. Because the threat of the run is there because you can get 3 yards and get a first down, 4 yards and consistently move the chains. So if I've been consistent about this for a year. If we can establish a running game, that alone will help the pass protection. But again, another reason why we struggled last year was a lack of communication up front. A lot of that fell on the quarterback. A lot of that fell on Josh Rosen. But again, I don't anticipate that being a problem from Tua. Obviously, it wasn't a problem over the second half of the season from Ryan Fitzpatrick. So the communication should be an improvement up front. But again, it's all about that running game. But I think definitely our running game we should be able to generate 4 yards per carry. Just based off on paper, what we brought in, we should. I'll be blown away next year, bro, if we can't generate 4 yards per carry, 4 yards per rush next year. I'll be thoroughly disappointed. So with that being said, bro, if we do that, that alone will help the breakdowns up front in terms of the pass protection that we saw consistently last year.
And you have been preaching about getting that running game, right? Like that, you have been pretty consistent with saying, hey, establish the
horrible. It was horrible. It was horrible. Horrible, man. Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
What would you say if I were to tell you that since 2015, Jordan Howard is the third leading rusher in the NFL.
I saw that. I was a little surprised, but I've always been a Jordan Howard fan, though. I've always been high on.
Yeah, I like the Eagles, but I know and that's what I've said this before. What I like, the best thing I like about what they did with the Matt Breida trade was if you go, I got a lot of buddies who are Chicago Bears fans. So if you go back to his best years, it really was when they brought Tariq in and they could do the 1-2 punch. He was so effective. And now they brought in Breida to kind of bring in that Tariq Cohen role. But I think Breida is also a better runner than Tariq Cohen. I think Tariq Cohen he's just a better pass catcher out of the backfield. But I think Breida is just as good of a pass catcher, but he's a better runner. And I think he has better awareness, better vision, and just a better overall IQ for the game than Tariq Cohen. Because you've seen, right, since Jordan Howard left Chicago, Tariq Cohen hasn't been able to carry the workload by himself, right? You've noticed the one thing that's happened is that run game has started to dip a little bit, right? So Jordan Howard was more instrumental than what those people were led to believe over there in Chicago.
Yeah, and he's that natural one gap power north and south runner, bro, that we needed. And they tried to make Kalen Ballage that guy, but Kalen Ballage he lacks in terms of the vision department. He might be a better athlete than what Jordan Howard is, but his improvisation and his vision, he is seriously lacking in that department. Jordan Howard is a natural running back. He has natural running back instincts and from a vision standpoint. And he, he's that player that we tried to make Kalen Ballage out to be. Is that a death sentence for Kalen Ballage? I don't know. I want to hang on to Kalen Ballage because again, you can't find his, at that position, bro. You can't find that kind of athleticism. They don't, it's very rare you find backs with that kind of physical ability. So,
athleticism if you don't got awareness to find gaps on yourself, and these hands that were highly touted have turned into what do you want to call them, Butterfingers or Stone? Take your pick.
I hear you.
That's a
problem. Like this, Derrick Henry.
You can be the most athletic cat in the world, but if you can't translate it into on-field production, what good are you, bro? You're no more valuable than a football machine, than a tackling machine at practice.
But now, on paper, we have guys that can actually move people and block up front.
Oh, I agree.
So
we hope.
And don't implement schemes where he has to make his reads. The emphasis is not so much on the running back making reads. Just simplify the running schemes. Kalen Ballage is second and 5, and we have a call, a halfback blast to the left side. He knows where he's supposed to go. You know what I mean? He knows where he's supposed to go. You know where the play is, the flow of the play is supposed to go. So just don't put him in a situation where he has to improvise. Just simplify things for him. You have, and to be honest with you, a power gap scheme is a more simplified running concepts as opposed to a zone scheme where running backs have to make a lot of improvisation and they have to make a lot of reads. You know what I'm saying? So if you simplify things up front for them, and in theory, again, this scheme does that. These concepts does that. With that, 6'2", 6'3", 235-pound frame, and he's running 4.42, bro. We saw, again, I know it's one run, and I keep going back to that one run in Minnesota, 2 years ago. You saw what he looked like. We got a glimpse. He flashed that 75-yard touchdown he had in Minnesota. So, again, he has that big play ability. And obviously, the coaching staff in Flores, they love this kid. So, again, if we simplify things in this, it appears that they are we don't know. We haven't gotten a confirmation from any of our coaches or anything like that, but it would appear to be that they are transitioning to this gap power scheme. in theory, it is a more simplified concept than what the zone read is. So we'll see. We'll see how it all unfolds. But I'm willing to hang on to Caleb a lot, just until training camp. Now, if he gets to training camp and he's giving you nothing, well, you cut bait and you move on. But I like him, and I like Patrick Laird as well to make this roster, bro. I really do. I love Patrick Laird's skill set. I really, really do. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I was going to actually say. Don't you think Patrick Laird, the way he started coming on a little at the end of the year, he's another threat to push Balaj further down the depth chart?
Maybe. Because I think we carried what, 4? I think teams generally carry 4 running backs, right, on the roster.
Yeah.
So and also we have a fullback as well.
Chandler Cox.
If they decide to keep him, Chandler Cox. Well, he's not a lock. He's not a lock to make.
Well, and they got a Landon Roberts who can do fullback or linebacker.
Oh, he's another one that needs to be looking over his shoulder, bro. I forgot about that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
I forgot all about that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cox. You better show us something. Come training camp, my friend. And that is a Flores guy as well.
Yep.
So, just saying.
A lot of people forgot
all about that.
People forgot about Michael.
Forgot all about that, bro.
Forgot about Michael Roberts already too, right?
Yeah.
So you know what it is.
Interesting.
So let's get into. We've identified 3 players that we think are going to be at a Pro Bowl level this year potentially. Before we get to that, guys, smash that like button. It really helps with YouTube algorithm. Helps us get views, which in turn can turn to likes, et cetera, and subscriptions. Subscribe if you haven't already, if you're just out there in the YouTube world. We've got over 960,000 minutes viewed on YouTube, and around 40% of that is from non-subscribers. So if you're out there in YouTube land watching right now, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, if you want to donate to the channel, once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we'll be able to open up donations through private chat. But until then, paypal.me/Phinside is where you can go make a donation. Speaking of donations, we got a donation a couple days ago that I want to get to, and that's from our boy Fake Spike. He donated $25, and he left actually a pretty good message, bro. It was based off of our stream regarding Brian Flores, and he just keeps showing that love. But here's what he said. Reason the EM, I want to say thank you for speaking on George Floyd. You guys spoke very well, and what's even more impressive about you guys, took a risk losing subscribers with a conversation like this, and that's what makes you guys so awesome to me. You guys are as real can get. Keep up the good work. Much respect. Appreciate it, bro.
I need to grab a tissue. Man.
Because as I look out, I believe we were the first ones that spoke on it.
Yeah.
And then everyone kind of followed suit after we kind of opened that door, and then people kind of followed suit after that. I appreciate you, Mike, man.
Man.
I've said it to Rhino. I've said it to George. I've said it to Infinite Trauma. Man, if I could give out a golden wrench, bro, you've been one of the biggest supporters of this channel.
Absolutely.
So you have it, bro. I appreciate you so much, man.
Fake Spike. You already know what it is, homie. It's greatly appreciated, my friend. Yeah. Greatly appreciated.
Amazing dude, man. Amazing dude.
Mm-hmm. Everybody, all of them.
Yeah, man. All that, like Rhino always putting in that work, promoting Infinite Trauma. George always hitting me up in the DMs. We're always chatting, always showing our support for the channel. Been here since day one. A bunch of you guys have been here since day one.
I tell you, man, that's good to see people actually respect what we do, bro, as opposed to thinking we rode the coattails. We've been riding the coattails of other individuals, man. So it's very refreshing to see people actually respect what we do.
I'm just gonna put it out there, right? We haven't had a shout out from any other channel since before 600 subscribers. We're at about 870 right now. So I mean, we're talking about almost a quarter of our subscribers have come just off of our content. I mean, look at us. We've been going since middle of March, and we're already on episode 33. But on top of this, guys, you can go on Instagram. This is not a lie to you at all. For example, we did that subject matter about rookies that'll have the biggest impact. There's Instagram pages out there for the Dolphins that are lifting our show subject matter and ideas. We don't care. It is what it is. But we're out here, man. I mean, that's you see the people show up in the Big O show in the comment section, always showing love. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, man. I just we got some things to plan for you guys that we hope you're gonna like. But wait till we don't want to kind of put it all out there just because it is kind of a cutthroat little community out here to an extent with certain people. But we got some ideas, especially come training camp. We're gonna have stuff that no other channel gonna have. So especially that's why we're hoping this COVID thing kind of doesn't really bring a hamper down in terms of training camp access, because we got some things lined up that no other Dolphin channel gonna have.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, man.
Stay tuned.
But besides that too, we got some stuff we're gonna do. We are gonna do film analysis videos, especially as the season goes on. We're gonna do specifically Dolphins players. We're gonna have the all 22 package. Me and EM have already talked about it. We'll roll through that stuff for you guys too. Those will be pre-recorded though, guys. Those won't be live videos just because it's going to be easier. In terms of college, we're going to keep figuring it out because from what I've heard, they're kind of cracking down. And all 22 college footage is very, 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 very hard to get a hold of. And broadcast footage, you can get hit with copyright strikes. So, you got to be careful. The all 22 footage you are allowed to use from the NFL and all 22 footage you are allowed to use from the NCAA because they're actually not broadcast copyrighted by CBS, ESPN, Fox, et cetera, et cetera. That's where the difference lies in. So, and guys, a lot of the stuff that we watch in terms of, like I'll tell everyone right now. So guys, I was basically in the works with PFF. I was going to do some analytical stuff for them. And just because of my schedule and stuff, I couldn't follow through. But I did the first wave, and what they had me do was I broke down the Clemson and the LSU national championship in terms of positional analytics, snap counts, where people were lined up, how many snaps they were there, and I was doing both sides of the ball. And anyways, they sent us broadcast footage. They didn't even have the all 22 footage. So there were certain clips, bro, where you couldn't see the back end of the secondary. You basically had to watch, like, as the play was already developing, you had to kind of guess where they were, and you had to identify. You had to say, okay, well, I'm seeing they're running this set of quarters. I saw it earlier. He's probably in the same position because the safety's in the same spot, post snap, et cetera, et cetera. Like with all 22, it would be way easier for me to identify where everyone was, but even they didn't have it. They had broadcast footage. So it becomes a little bit of an issue when you're trying to get exact analytics of where people are lined up, right? Because as you know, safeties can move up, et cetera, right? So, but yeah, we got some things planned for you guys, and we are going to do some film analysis, et cetera, et cetera. It's already in the works. We got something special, a great idea that we hope all of you are going to get involved with once the season starts. I'm not going to get into what it is, but we really want y'all, we want y'all to get involved when this happens, each week as the Dolphins play. We really hope you guys enjoy the format we're going to be bringing for that too. So we got something happening before. We got a massive kind of content creator panel planned for 2 times coming up before the regular season. We hope you guys are going to enjoy those shows too. So we're in the works, man. We're working on some more interviews with you guys. We just hope you all love it, man.
Absolutely.
We're out here doing it for y'all. So
absolutely.
We just hope y'all enjoy, man. Just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way. So let's get into guys who we think have the 3 guys who we've identified could make the Pro Bowl this year. And number 1 being, of course, our boy, Devontae Parker. So when you look at Devontae last year, bro, I mean, especially in the back half, those last 6 games, actually, let's say the last 8 games, really. What an absolute monster, bro. We saw the Devontae Parker that these guys, that the Dolphins front office drafted so many years ago, start to blossom into what the expectations were originally set on him. Even when you go into the PFF, bro, out of 122 qualified receivers that were graded last year, he was 18th. The fact that we have a top 20 receiver and those kind of stats, I mean, and you look from that Pittsburgh game on, even though he was only gaining 55, 59, 57, 69 yards, he was starting to do all the little things right. You know what I mean? He started his yards per reception, started to be a little consistent around the 13 to 14 area. He was getting a little bit more yak in terms of what he was doing. Yeah, man. And then once you get past that Buffalo game in week 11, once you get from Buffalo to week 17, the man was just lights out. You know what I mean? There's no doubt about it. He found his rhythm. He found his groove. And he was playing at a Pro Bowl level really from week 11 to week 17. No one can really deny that. When you look at the numbers where he had 135 yards against Buffalo, 91 against Cleveland, 159 against Philly. He had 111 against Cincinnati. He had 137 against New England. Bro, I mean, and even the games, the game where he had 72 yards against the Giants, he still managed to finish with 2 touchdowns. He was doing, and even in the games we talked about earlier where I talked about, about how even against Indianapolis and the Jets, he was doing the right things, 69, 57 yards. He was still getting touchdowns, right? Even against Buffalo in week 7, he 55 yards, but he finished with a touchdown. He's still finding you saw him find that rhythm, even as we were having this function back there with who was going to wind up being the starter and how our offensive line was going to end up shaking out. And then once everything settled and, Fitzpatrick settled in as a starter, he just took off.
Absolutely. Once, I think, once Preston Williams went down and got hurt, I think Devontae really took it upon himself to be that consistent threat that we needed, especially down the stretch. Last, I'll say 7-8 games of the season. We saw, number one, he was healthy for 16 games for the first time in his career, I believe. And we all knew, like we talked about earlier, we always knew that Devontae had this kind of big play ability, but the inconsistency and also his lack of health, kind of held him back. So, man, he was healthy for 16 games last year, and you see the production that you get, 72 receptions, over 1,200 yards. I forget what was his touchdown total?
His touchdown total was...
I think, 9 touchdowns last year?
9.
9 touchdowns.
Let me just make sure about that. Yeah, 9 touchdowns.
So you see the production was there, and again, I attribute that to his health. And again, we talked about I alluded to earlier about on tape. You could see, again, we all know, his ability to high point the football. We see the consistent plays that he made high pointing the football last year. We get all of that. But if you watch more tape on him since the season, was over with, I had like several games, man, where I'm just like, I see the implementation of these more routes on the route tree in his game. Again, I talked about the New England game, and if you look at his production down the stretch and look at the cornerbacks that he faced, your Stephon Gilmore's, Tre'Davious White's, William Jackson III, who is a very good young, athletic, up-and-coming cornerback from Cincinnati. So he faced quality competition, and he had very good production against these opposing cornerbacks. So again, man, I fully anticipate him, having a Pro Bowl caliber year.
Let me hit you with this. Yeah, let me hit you with this. Let me hit all Finn Nation with this stuff. Check this out. This is how badly he was snubbed. He averaged 16.7 yards per reception last year. Okay,
crazy.
That was more yards per catch than the 4 wide receivers chosen over him for the Pro Bowl. His 9 touchdowns was more touchdowns than all of them as well. And he had far more yards than Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill had, I believe, just over 800 yards, and this guy had over 12. He had 1,202.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then when you go deeper than this, check this out. Only 20 Dolphin players have gone over 1,000 yards in a season. Only 10 have ever gone over 1,100. And Parker has the 13th most receiving yards ever in a Dolphin season, I believe it is.
Yeah, he's complete.
He was only 18. He finished only 18 yards behind Brian Hartline's 2012 season.
Yeah, he's complete now. And again, I just hope his health, I hope that's not an issue this year, because if he can stay healthy and he can just build upon what he did last year, I fully anticipate this guy being in the Pro Bowl next year. I could see him having an 85 catch, 1,300 yard season, double-digit touchdowns, because he has that ability. He's got the ability. That never was a question mark. But again, consistency, developing more aspects to his game. And again, I saw that again. If you go back and you watch the tape, you can see the development, how his game is more structured now. He's just not relying on his athletic ability and his ability to high point the football. No, you saw crisp, firm, very good route running, especially considering what he put on tape his previous 3 to 4 years. He looks like he's getting it. He looks like he's developing that aspect of his game. And again, I'm telling you, if this kid, if he can just build upon what he did last year, why would he not be in a Pro Bowl? And again, with more improvement around him, the quarterback and particularly up front, where whoever it is, Tua or Ryan Fitzpatrick, actually have time to really get him the football, you know what I mean, in better situations, because I can definitely see him having a huge, a much better year than what he had last year. Mm-hmm. So absolutely Pro Bowl worthy. He was Pro Bowl worthy last year, but definitely he has another year. And if he exceeds what he did last year, there's no way you snub him 2 years in a row. We need to be picketing and protesting at that point, to be honest with you.
For sure. All right. So we were talking about, we went to the secondary and we discussed Xavier Howard, but I'm kind of in the stance that, you've said it before, when you come out that kind of injury, it usually takes you 2 years to get back to that pre-injury form, especially when he's had, multiple. He's had multiple now because he had that arthroscopic surgery done as well.
Well, from what I understand, this is not an ACL tear; it's just a knee scope.
Mm.
So he didn't tear anything. It's just the procedure is just more of a cleanup.
Yeah.
So, but I will say this: why Xavier Howard should be on this list is because, again, it's because of the presence of Byron Jones. He doesn't have to take the responsibility of the opposing team's number one wide receiver every single week. He'll be matched up on second and third wide receivers. So in theory, his production should go up. It should, because number one, he's going to get more targets, but he's matched up against a lesser talent. So his production should go up. So we'll see how they deploy we don't know exactly how they're going to deploy Byron Jones and Xavier Howard on a week-to-week basis, but on paper and in theory, he's productive. I could see, again, it's all about his health. If he's healthy, I could easily see him returning to his 2018 form because I think Byron Jones is the better man-to-man guy. If you're talking about from a standpoint of just man-to-man coverage,
I think Byron getting the pick this year.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, but I think in terms of man-to-man coverage, I think Byron Jones is top 2 or 3 in the league.
Yeah, but I think that what X is going to run into is because of how consistent Byron is and how big of a scheme fit he is. I think a lot of Dolphin Nation are going to fall in love with him, and especially when it comes to that Pro Bowl voting. I mean, you look at him last year. Yeah, bro, you look at him last year. He doesn't have to get the turnovers, and he's still, when you look back at PFF, he still ends up being the 14th highest graded corner out of 115 graded. And he doesn't need to get those turnovers, bro. And that's because his coverage skills are so good.
I agree. But again, it's kind of like a linebacker, and like we talked about before we went live, we talked about the sack total. What in terms of Pro Bowl voting, what they want to see more than anything else, and it's the sack total. And with cornerbacks and secondary, it's the interception. So that's the equivalent. So with one thing, Xavier Howard definitely has proved since he's been in the NFL, he will take the football away. So with that being said, if Xavier Howard puts up another 4 interception year, there's no way. And he's solid, and again, he returns his 2018 form. There's no way he doesn't necessarily have to get 7 interceptions, but if he gets 4 to 5, there's no way you.
Dude, Byron Jones in 2018 had 0 interceptions, and he was voted to the Pro Bowl, and he was the second-team All-Pro.
Okay, well, I'm not saying he won't be, but what I'm saying is Xavier Howard should be. He should be on this list as well. You can't depend on him
to pick up right where he left off after what he's just dealt with, man.
But this is not the first time. Xavier Howard has had this procedure.
But it's the first time he's had that procedure. It's the first time he's had that procedure and a scope as well in the same season.
Well, I think it'll be a situation where
if they had to go and clean up, that tells you scar tissue is becoming an issue.
Yeah, and I truly believe that
about the scar tissue after the surgery, and that's probably what's happening right now because of that's probably why they had to go in and clean up. Now I'm just hypothesizing, but that logic just tells you that's what it is. That's what most scopes go back and clean up for is for scar tissue normally.
Maybe, but like I said, I think Xavier Howard again. It might even be a scenario when they both make the Pro. When they both make the Pro Bowl.
I think that is a high possibility, but I can't lock in. I'm going to lock in on Byron Jones because I know he's probably going to be healthy the whole season. 2 factors: Xavier, I got to see how it holds up, and 2, I got to see not only how does it hold up, but can you. You're asking a lot of a guy to come off a major surgery and then a cleanup scope to just return to what he was right before that.
Well, but again, here's the thing. Reason he won't be matched up on the opposing team's number 1 wideout guy.
But you're running into problems where you look at a team like Denver. Look at their top 3 guys.
Okay.
Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and KJ Hamler. You're getting into problems where, you go to Las Vegas. Even though they got Henry Ruggs, they still got Tyrell Williams, and a lot of people sleep on how good that guy was last year under Derek Carr. He was very good. So a lot of teams aren't turning into just one receiver teams anymore.
I understand, but that's 2 teams. Those are 2 games out of 16.
I'm just giving you.
I understand, but what I'm saying is, again, every team doesn't have 3 very good wide receivers. How many teams in the league can say that? So again, I'm just saying we could be looking at a scenario where I think we shouldn't just write off. Again, it's about his health, but I'm just not ready to write off Xavier Howard. I think, and again, it's about his health. And like I said, he won't be matched because I think Byron Jones will get that assignment on most weeks. The opposing team's number one wideout, and he should, because he's a better man-to-man guy than what he's a better athlete. He's a better man-to-man cornerback than what Xavier Howard is. Now, Xavier Howard has better ball skills. Okay, I think Xavier Howard is better in zone coverage. He can read things a little better than what Byron Jones can. So yeah, we could be looking at a situation where where possibly both of them could be making a Pro Bowl. I mean, that would be ideal. Hopefully that happens, that transpires. But y'all give me a minute, fellas. We're having some technical difficulties. Ladies and gentlemen. We're having major issues. I think Reason's having major issues. Y'all hang on one second. All right, I'm gonna log in here, and until Reason until he resolves his issues, we're gonna take some questions. Anybody have any questions out there, or anybody just have any other players in mind that could possibly be on this list of potential Pro Bowlers this year for us? And I'm logging in right now. We apologize for this, gentlemen. All right, here we go. I'm logged in now. Okay, seems like y'all want to know about Kyle Van Noy. Reason and I, before we went live tonight, we talked about Kyle Van Noy. Actually, Kyle Van Noy was on the list initially, but why I don't think Kyle Van Noy, should be on this list more so than the guys that we mentioned. I think Kyle Van Noy, because of how I think the Dolphins will deploy him next year. He'll be deployed in multiple roles. So he'll be, played obviously on the ball, off the ball. So again, it goes back to what I said about, like, in terms of linebackers, what Pro Bowl voters love, they prefer over everything else is like sack total. So I don't think Kyle Van Noy will be played and deployed primarily in a situation where he will amass a lot of sack totals. I think that in terms of edge players, I think that guy will be Emmanuel Ogbah, because I think they'll have Van Noy doing multiple responsibilities within the scheme. But I think Emmanuel Ogbah, because he's the best athlete from an edge perspective, I think he's the only edge player at this point that can beat you consistently with power and speed and speed. So I think Agba, and I could be totally wrong and off base about what of my prediction, but I think Agba will be put more so in a situation where he will have more one-on-one opportunities as opposed to necessarily relying on the scheme to get him to free him in situations. So I think he will be deployed in that regard. And I could be totally wrong. It's just pure speculation on my point, but I just don't think Kyle Van Noy would be in a position. He will get enough snap counts to amass enough sack total, to make the Pro Bowl. Rhino, I see you, homie. Rookie. If I had to pick a rookie to make the Pro Bowl, which one would it be? That is interesting. Oh man, that's a good one, bro. I want to say Raekwon Davis so bad, but again, I think he will fall in a similar situation like Kyle Van Noy. He will be deployed in so many different. He'll have multiple responsibilities on that deep defensive line, and he won't be in a position where where he'll generate one-on-one opportunities to amass that, statistic total that you would need to make the Pro Bowl. So I want to say Raekwon, but I don't think so. If I had to pick one rookie, wow, bro. Other than Tua Tagovailoa, I'm not gonna say Tua because I really don't think Tua is gonna play. I really, as much as I would love to see him, I don't think Tua is gonna play week 1. But if I'm a betting man, I'll put my money on it. I will say Robert Hunt, because if he is number one, because I think he's gonna have the snap total to to generate the necessary statistics to make the Pro Bowl. I think he's gonna be on the field quite a bit this year, barring any kind of health issues. So I would say Robert Hunt, in particular, if he plays at guard, I could literally see him making a Pro Bowl as a guard this year. Todd Lobruto. What do I think about Mike Gesicki? Man, I love that dude, bro. Mike Gesicki, I'm looking for him to have another good year. We might not see Mike Gesicki's, his impact in terms of I think he's going to have a huge impactful year, but we might not necessarily see it on his statistics necessarily, because from what I've been, from my research that I've been conducting on Chan Gailey's offense, in the past, I think Tony Gonzalez is the only one tight end that comes to mind that had a huge statistical season. But if he's healthy, he's obviously a matchup nightmare for opposing teams, and his presence alone is going to be impactful for this team, because again, it's going to be hard when you have Devontae healthy, when you have hopefully Preston Williams healthy, you got a healthy Albert Wilson, and maybe a Kirk Merritt. We talked about all the weaponry that we have. It'll be hard for teams to key in on, you have to pick your poison. If you're doubling Gesicki, that's freeing up Devontae Parker, that's freeing up the wide receivers. If you're doubling, Devontae Parker or any other wide receiver, that's freeing up everybody else in one-on-one opportunities. And again, we talked about the profiles.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you good, bro?
Dude, legit power outage, like pitch black for that whole time.
Wow.
So, you finished up about Byron Jones, though, right? I just switched over to Emmanuel Ogbah.
Yeah. We're talking about it. So,
where are you at with Ogbah right now?
Well, I was just taking questions from people in the chat.
Okay.
So the last question was about Mike Gesicki. I was saying about, I think he'll be, he's going to be impactful, but we might not necessarily see it in the statistics.
Who, Gesicki or
Ogba? Yeah, Gesicki.
Did you already talk about Ogba? So we're done.
Well, I kind of touched on him. I kind of touched on Malik. I kind of want to. I'll go back and we'll talk about him a little further. But as far as Mike Gesicki is concerned, yeah, he'll be impactful definitely, but we might not necessarily see it because I think the approach is going to be to spread the ball.
I think you'll see him in the slot a bit this year too, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the ball. And even Devontae Parker, I look for him, to have a big year. But I think the approach is going to be to spread the ball around more because we have so many different options, so many matchup problems for opposing teams. We've got speed, we got size, all of them, everybody, with the exception of potentially Merritt or Albert Wilson or Jakeem Grant. Everybody's 6'4", 6'5", and above in your run. So yeah, he's going to be impactful. But I want to see him. You know what? I want to see his biggest leap this year. I want to see it in the run game. I want to see Gesicki take, that next step in terms of in the run game. Because again, if he does that again, teams can't necessarily key on because they know when he's in the game lined up, as a tight end, it's going to be more than likely it's going to be a passing play.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So teams can key in on what we're doing, whether or not.
Problem is though, he's not even. Situation. You can't even make the case that he's really competent right now. So you're asking him to go from being barely competent to being a good blocker. That's a big leap.
And I don't understand why he's so inept in that department. Because when he was at the combine, he put up he had a very good bench press. Repetitions at the combine. So even as rookie, I couldn't understand why he was so.
Well, it's the same thing. There's a big tight end prospect coming out this year. He's actually on the list of the show that I'm going to do. His name's Pat Freiermuth, and he's from Penn State as well. And again, amazing in open space, amazing receiver. But he's a bit of a better blocker than Gesicki, but he's nothing you're going to shake a stick at, basically.
Well, I remember the reports of Omar Kelly, his first year, even when we during the draft process, Omar Kelly was killing him. He was saying about how he's not a willing blocker. You know what I mean? He shies away from contact. Those are not my words. Those are Omar Kelly's early on. So again, that's the leap because I know he can run. I know he can catch. I know he can make big plays in the passing game. But I want to see him take that leap in the running.
Because he loses snaps. Like Larry L said, he'll be used like Gesicki, like how when Chan Gailey used Tony Gonzalez. Difference is Tony Gonzalez was a very good blocker, so you have to take him off. So
exactly.
He had 90 catches. He had 96 catches, but he could also stay on the field like Gesicki can, right?
Absolutely.
So let's get back to Emmanuel Ogba for a second because we're talking about a guy who he only had 10 games, but he ended up with 27 total pressures, 6 sacks, 17 hurries. When you break that down, that's ridiculous, man. He was definitely on pace for what, about 10 sacks season. You know what I mean? So, but now he's coming into, I think, other than Chris Jones, I think he's coming into a defense with a lot more talent around him, especially in that front seven, minus again Chris Jones.
Definitely.
But do you expect not only do you, because my whole stance is, and this is why I'm going to stick to this Pro Bowl prediction, is because if you remember when we signed him, I went on the record and I said he only signed a 2-year deal because he knows what he's coming into and he knows he's going to raise his capital if he stays healthy. That being said, he's only got 2 years to do that. I believe right away he's going to be one of our most impactful players, let alone probably the best free agent signing besides Jones and Kyle Van Noy. Where are you at with Ogba?
Well, I think Emmanuel Ogba, I think he has an opportunity to be the best free agent signing that we even surpassing Byron Jones, because you remember when we signed him, man, I was doing hula hoops. with this kid. He was my favorite free agent signing. I went on a record stating that because of the upside this kid has. He is, again, I think, like they mentioned, like we talked about before we went live, Kyle Van Noy. I think this kid, from that edge position, he has the opportunity to be that, be that double-digit sack guy, lead our team in, in terms of pressures and sack totals, because he's the best athlete. He's the only edge player on our team that can consistently beat tackles with power or speed. This kid is he's an outstanding athlete, and he's the only player that has that dual threat ability from that position. So with that being said, and again, when we're when we're in situations where we might not want to bring pressure in obvious passing situations, and we just send 4 guys, he's that one guy that can consistently beat his one-on-one matchup because of, again, his dual threat ability. And so with that being said, I could see at times, I know I said on previous streams before, I fully anticipate with the with our secondary, I fully anticipate us being one of the more pressure-oriented teams on previous streams. But situationally, when we don't want to necessarily bring pressure at that particular down, and we're in an obvious passing situation, and we just rush 4 or rush 3, he's that one guy that has that dual threat ability that can consistently win one-on-ones. He can kill you with power, and he can kill you with speed, and he can bend that edge as well. He might not have Cam Wake ability in terms of his ability to bend that edge, but he's very good at it. So again, he's a young player, young ascending player. I think we are scratching the surface on this kid's ability. I just want
to throw this out there because I noticed Larry L again. Larry L, you still have to block as a tight end in a spread. You ever heard of a down block? You still have to be able to down block in a spread offense as a tight end, just like an offensive line does. So blocking is still a necessity, especially if it's going to be a spread with a power run gap scheme. Down blocking is going to be essential for your tight end, man. And again, it's more effective when he can block if you want to run play actions, especially for a guy like that. Release and get out in open space, because then he actually looks like a threat. Fake the block, release, get over. So, so I don't know. You're just moving the goalpost, buddy. I mean, first of all, you said because of the spread, you don't need a tight end that can block. And now you're saying that as a traditional tight end, no, but as a spread tight end, yeah. The thing is, if he's in the slot, another thing too, if you're going to run a design play, you're going to want him out there, and within those 5-10 yards, you want him to be able, like you saw the clip TD brought up with me months ago, with the pick that Tua had on that national championship game. And yes, you did, Larry. You can scroll up and said that it doesn't matter when you tried to give Tony Gonzalez as an exact example, bro. So, I mean, I can go up and I can read your exact comment where you said it doesn't matter about him blocking. Said blocking from a spread is a different story. And then before that, spread offense does not require power blocking tight end wide receiver. No one's talking about him being a power blocker, but you still have to be able to down block.
And again, Chan Gailey, he just doesn't deploy the spread offense.
No, he adapts.
He's very, in terms of his formational deployment, everything is on the table with Chan Gailey. 12 personnel, 13 personnel, spread off, obviously. RPO. And in a 12 personnel, that tight end better be able to block. Exactly, bro. So no, just don't think of we're just going to be running spread, 90% of the time. Absolutely not. And again, that goes against Flores's philosophy anyway. His preference is the running game, a power running game. Now, I'm not saying we won't see that. I mean, we saw elements of the spread last year. I mean, every team, has elements of the spread or whatnot. But again, don't just think Chan Gailey is just going to be running primarily spread concepts. Absolutely not. There will be a deployment of power packages. I can guarantee you that.
And look what Brian Flores said. One of the reasons why he came out was because of Chan Gailey's ability to adapt in game. Right.
So exactly. And so again, if Gesicki becomes more complete, okay, that's just going to add another element to our overall offense, bro.
Yeah, so but in a 12 man, other than a passing set, what good is he to you? No, seriously, I'm not even knocking the kid. I love Gesicki. I think he's got great hands. I think he's killer in open space. But in a 12-man set, what good is he to you if it's not a passing play?
Yeah, I agree. And again, if he develops that, if he improves significantly, again, that's just going to add another element to this team. Because teams can't keep. Because now when you deploy him in line, 90% of the time it's going to be a pass play. If we know that, the defense knows that. Yeah. So if he becomes actually a threat in the run game, teams can't keep on. They don't have a grasp on what we're doing, and people don't realize how much of a benefit when you're able to keep teams off balance like that. And I always say
they'll bite on play actions too.
Exactly. So teams can't figure out what you're doing. But now, last year, and since he's been in the league, when he's lined up in line, we're passing the football 90-95% of the time.
And if we're running, we're probably going the other way.
Exactly. So that is why I want to see the improvement in his game.
Yeah, I think everyone does. That's a big thing because then he becomes complete. But yeah, just wrapping up Ogba here, when you look at his production last year, and I'll stick to my guns, bro. I think that's why he signed a 2-year deal because, hey, he knows he's going to cash in what Flores wants to run. And with this team and with this defense that we're starting to put together, I talked about a couple streams ago, don't be surprised if Curtis Weaver ends up being his successor because it's only a 2-year contract. And I think Ogba's going to freaking ball out, and he's going to basically price himself out of Miami in 2 years, unless he takes a team-friendly deal, which I hope he does. But I legitimately think he is going to become a premier edge player, and he's gonna be one of those players that prices himself out that we have to move on from, and that hopefully through this draft we've already got his replacement lined up in a guy like Curtis Weaver.
Well,
I just think that he's going to be that good. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'll say this. If this kid dominates, there's no way he's getting out because he's still young, still only 25 years old. So
the money, that's the issue.
I get it, but again, Shaq Lawson signed a 2-year deal too, so his money will come off the books in 2 years. So again,
and I think Ogba's going to be better than Lawson for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's better now, to be honest with you. He just can't stay on the field. Yeah. Shaq Lawson, no disrespect to you, homie, but he's more durable, but he's not the athlete this kid is.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Again, much respect to Shaq Lawson's game, but he's not this kid. I'm telling you, he's a blue chip athlete. And again, I look for this kid. I will not be surprised if we're sitting here and this kid is he's having a double digit sack total.
12 to 14.
I'll say 10 to 12. And his pressure rate is through the roof. So I love this kid. I was on record when we signed him. This is my favorite free agent signing. And again, I think he can wind up being the most impactful out of all of them. Because this kid has that kind of ability, that Khalil Mack. I'm talking about athleticism. I'm not saying he's the player at this point that Khalil Mack is, but athleticism, he's that kind of athlete. And we've talked about the versatility in his game, how he's able to line up all across that defensive line. And I could see Shaq Lawson being deployed that way as well. But Ogba, you could see him lined up all across, left in, right outside linebacker, left outside linebacker, nose tackle, zero technique, 3 to 5 technique. I mean, and also he has to be, again, his ability to drop back in coverage as well, because he's athletic enough. He's definitely athletic enough. So yeah, this is my guy right here. I'm looking for, again, he's another one with health concerns now, with durability issues. But if this kid gets it, hopefully, again, we have that Devontae Parker-like effect on him. Our program, our strength and conditioning program, hopefully has that same effect on him in a positive way. I think this kid's potential is through the roof.
And I mean, we could be talking about a guy who's a back-to-back Pro Bowler, no?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've got, again, with our secondary, again, on paper now, they still have to go out and prove it. But on paper, man, that quarterback is not going to be able to get the ball out in 2.5 seconds, bro. They will be hanging on to that football 3.54 seconds. And again, if the secondary can make the quarterback hold on to the football for 3.5, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, that's more time for the pass rush to get to him and be able to disrupt the quarterback. So with that being said, yeah, I fully anticipate this kid to have a good year. Very, very good, productive year. He might not have a monster year this year because of, I'm not too sure from a scheme standpoint what kind of defenses that he's been in. I'm still researching that. So I'm a little cloudy in that aspect. So that might take him a little that might take him a little long to get up, to get acclimated with the scheme and to get up to speed. But I think the following year he potentially could have a monster year. But again, I won't be surprised if he have a monster year next year. So, but love this.
So
kid. That's my guy.
Dolphin 124. Reason you are that confident in Curtis Weaver, please explain. Okay. So here's what I'll explain to you. When you look at him as a redshirt freshman in 2017, he only had 177 pass rushing snaps, and he had an 18.6 pressure rate. He also finished with 11 sacks. And again, he only had 177 pass rushing snaps, but he had 11 sacks and an 18.6 pressure rate. When you go to his ridiculous season in 2018, he had 12 sacks, 31 hurries on 263 pass rushing snaps, but he had almost a 31% pass rush win rate. It was 31.1% pass rush win rate. And he generated pressure on over 20% of his rushes. It was 21.6%. Okay. And then when you come back to this year, he kept it up. I mean, he had more snaps. He had 387 snaps. But when you actually look into it, he had a 22.9% pass rush win rate. That's disgusting. That man on 23% of his, almost a quarter of his pass rush snaps, he's winning. Okay. And you got a guy who, when you watch him, he's got very heavy hands. Offensive linemen, when they attempt to punch and strike, they don't even get close to his body, man. He just swats them away. He works just as well when you kick him inside the line as he does out on the edge. He's got a ton of power, collapses offensive tackles, outside shoulders, and gets to quarterbacks like it's nothing. When you look at his actual size, okay, people want to talk about the athleticism. He's 6'2", 265 pounds. People are worried about his athleticism, but his balance and his body control for his size is very, very, very freakish. He can play at any angle. He can bend at any position. And
his short area burst is off the charts as well, bro. People, they knock him in terms of his long speed, like 40 time or whatnot, but his short area burst is
which is what you saw on the 3 cone and the 20-yard shuttle. He's got that short area because he had a 7-second 3 cone drill and he had a 4.27 20-yard shuttle. He's got that quick burst that you know, that elite first explosive step, and that's what allows him to win. The only thing I can say is, you know, he's got 10-inch hands, so he's got decent sized hands. He's got a decent wingspan. He's got 32.375-inch arms. But the one thing I think he needs to do is he needs to get into our strength and conditioning. And because I do worry about, because he has kind of one of those odd body shapes, but I do worry about how his body's going to hold up in that heat. I think that's what you're going to have to work on. Just his strength is, I think more not even his strength, but his conditioning. But when you look at this guy, when you break it down, I believe only Chase Young had a higher pass rush win rate percentage this year in the NFL draft.
Yeah,
so I mean that tells you, bro. Like,
I'm gonna be honest with you. His technique, especially, you know, coming from college and entering the pros, it is impressive. Like you mentioned, his heavy hands, his hand placement is like next level. I mean, like you said, tackles. I mean, they're not even sniffing his body, bro. And he just swatting away. And again, he played at Boise State. You know, it's not like he played in the SEC. I get that, but he
moves everywhere, bro. You don't lose that. You don't lose that effective pass rush even when they move.
I agree. And again, I'm telling you, his technique is flawless, bro. He won't necessarily overwhelm you with his ability to bend the edge or blow by people with speed like a Chase Young. But
he's great on third down. And this year, he really took a step forward. A lot of people this year wanted him to take a step forward in the run game, and he did. He put up his best run stop grade, 81.8. He had a 90.3 pass rush grade. He had an 89.4 third down grade. I'm telling you, bro, like, you know, this kid. Player. Yeah, man, he just needs to get conditioned. That's it.
And see, if he continues, if he continues to improve in a run game, he's going to be able to get on the field, because you know how Flores is. If you can set that edge, you will warrant a heavy snap total. You will get playing time. So as long as he continues to do that and he gets, you know, his snaps increase. Now again, who's that going to come at the expense of? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be Emmanuel Ogbah, but I think pure pass rush ability, technique wise, he might even be the best pure pass rusher on our roster right now. He might be. He's that good.
I agree.
He's that good. He's that good. So again, this is just projection. This is 100% projection. But again, he has to do it on the NFL level.
And people forget, people want to doubt his athleticism, but when you go back to high school, you know, he played receiver, right? He had 14 passes for 253 yards and 4 touchdowns in his senior year. And in his junior year, they also used him as a running back. He contributed 11 rushes for 40 yards and 5 touchdowns as a short yardage running back. And he had 3 catches for 36 yards and a touchdown. And in sophomore season, same thing, 6 catches, 59 yards, and a score. So, you know, he played varsity basketball as well. So, I mean, people want to deny, but, you know, he's a multi-sport athlete. He was a multi-positional athlete in football when he was in high school. And then when you look at it, bro, when you look at the Power 5, bro, have there really been many more dominant pass rushers in the last couple of years out of the Power 5 than Curtis Weaver? I don't know if you can make that. You're talking about a guy, bro. Can you believe, okay, you know, he's a redshirt freshman, and then in the sophomore season, buddy, a 31.1% pass rush win rate.
That's crazy.
A third of your pass rush. That's ridiculous, bro. Like that's nuts, man. We're talking about a guy who in 3 years has put up 38 sacks.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you want to see, is the consistency. That's what you want to see.
And back-to-back years of overall grades of over 91.
That's what you want to see, is that consistency. And again,
the first round, to me, he was a back end of the first round, high second round talent, and we got him where we got him, bro.
Yeah, 5th round, bro.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. What a steal.
And the only reason why I don't think him is a rookie, because somebody asked, I think it was Rhino asked earlier, which rookie, in my opinion, could possibly make the Pro Bowl. And the only reason why I didn't mention Curtis Weaver was because I don't think I will be shocked if he comes in and he's getting more snaps, than Ogbo or Shaq Lawson, especially early on. I'll be shocked. So I don't think he's going to necessarily have the the snap total, to be able to generate the statistics to make the Pro Bowl. I say Robert Hunt because I think Robert Hunt will be on the field probably more so than any of our rookies, to be honest with you, especially if they put him at, either right guard or tackle, but I think he can play at a Pro Bowl level early on at guard. Maybe not necessarily tackle, but definitely at guard. He has a better possibility because of the scheme, because of the run scheme. So, but yeah, love Curtis Weaver as well. Love that kid. So
great. Man, we killed that draft. When you actually think about it, bro.
Definitely. And all of them are scheme. All of them are scheme fits, bro. All of them. You look at the offensive line, the additions. Again, we don't have confirmation on what scheme they can be implementing up front, but again, we know, based on the profiles of these guys that they brought in, they're going to be transitioning to a power gap scheme. But on the defensive side of the football, the deep can't even talk straight. The defensive side of the ball, we all know what the principles are. We all know what the concepts are, and all of the guys that they selected in this draft, they all deploy those concepts at a high level. Curtis Weaver and Raekwon Davis. So those two gap principles, bro, that is what they excel at. And again, scheme fits all across the board, and I love it. And I hate to go back to the New England comparison, but this was a New England Patriot type of draft. It was a lot of players that a lot of people in NFL circles thought that were reaches. Obviously, we didn't, but they were looking through the lens of the NFL as a whole, as opposed to looking through the lens of the Miami Dolphins. So I think Dante said that as well when he was on the show.
Yeah.
So again, scheme fits, and again, I don't care what nobody tells you. Scheme fits are everything in the National Football League.
Agreed. 110%. Don't listen to those videos that say scheme fits don't matter. But yeah, we're at an hour and 45 minutes, brother. Anything else you want to add before we get on out of here? Because we'll be back Monday or Tuesday night, probably Monday, guys. We'll keep you updated.
No, bro, man, another good show. Appreciate all the support again. Everybody coming out, hanging out with us, man, to talk about our squad. And yeah, man, y'all already know what it is. All day, every day, gentlemen. All day, every day.
It is. Fins up, baby. So, guys, yeah, we'll probably see you again on Monday. Follow us on Twitter at Phinside the NFL, just to stay updated about what time we'll be going live. Yeah, other than that, guys, we will see you at the beginning of next week. We hope you guys have a good rest of the week.
Stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy too. All right, guys, have a good one. As always, it's Fins Up all day, every day. Stay blessed.